My sister wore a pleated skirt and uniform shoes to go to the graduation exam. She was photographed by a stranger and posted on social networks with a comment, "Is it certain that she is a candidate for the graduation exam by dressing so maturely? I felt like I was going to work at a bar that night." The comment section was even more disgusting. "I don't know how much this item costs. This costume looks like it knows that it is just for fun. I'll pay $5,000 to cover her to go to college for a year." My sister suffered from cyberbullying, was mentally depressed, and wanted to skip the exam. My parents hurriedly called me home. I smirked. I didn't expect someone to dare to challenge me in my strongest field. Ira said that she wanted to wear her favorite outfit to the exam, because this was the most important exam in her life. She wore her favorite pleated dress and uniform shoes to the exam hall with a relaxed spirit and a fresh face. Upon entering the school gate, Ira found someone taking a picture of her. As a middle-aged uncle, Ira curiously asked what the uncle was shooting. The uncle said that he took pictures of the contestants and praised her dress very beautifully. Ira happily thanked his uncle, and since it was very hot, he even gave him his bottle of mineral water. Unexpectedly, when he got home, the old bastard immediately posted a photo of her along with a long post on social networks. Now, high school students look really puffy. The body curves and clothes are completely those of that mature woman. How to get a candidate certificate? I thought I was going to work at night at the bar. That name posted an article with the topic of the graduation exam. Interest immediately skyrocketed. The comment section was filled with vulgar and rude words. This kind of thing looks like you only participate for fun. But what the hell is the competition? Looking at the shape of the dream that has developed so well, how much does it cost, brother? I volunteered to spend $5,000 to cover her to go to college for a year. Fortunately, I found out in time and immediately notified my parents. They arrived in time to pick up Ira from the campus. I surfed the internet 24 hours a day. As soon as cyber violence began, I noticed this incident. I immediately canceled all my plans and bought a plane ticket back to my home country right away. Before boarding the plane, my parents called me. Ira has been surrounded by her family since she was a child, so she has a simple mindset. This is the first time he has encountered such a thing, so now he is in a state of mental breakdown. She locked herself in her room and cried all day, refusing to continue the exam. Tomorrow there are 2 exams. My parents are almost crazy. Tell Ira to listen to me the most, tell me to go back, and advise him. I raised my hand to look at the clock. I would be home in about 2 hours. Let's go out to dinner with our whole family. I knocked on the door of Ira's room. "You?" Ira echoed from the inside with a look of surprise. "Why did you go home?" Duyu's voice sounded very hoarse. It was obvious that he was crying to exhaustion. Ira opened the door. He was wearing a pajama suit that covered him from head to toe, and his eyes were swollen like walnuts. Seeing me, she shed tears again. "Brother, I wore this outfit to the exam that day. Isn't it too obvious?" She pointed to a suit that was hanging in the corner of the cupboard, a black pleated dress that was knee-length, thick black socks, a black uniform, and the gap between the legs was no more than 30 centimeters. Excited, "I'll never wear it again. I will wear a long-sleeved shirt and long pants every day, covering my whole body," not revealing anything, saying that he was going to take the scissors to destroy the suit. I hurriedly stopped. Ira has been an obedient and understanding girl since childhood. During a busy 12th grade year, she stashed her favorite dresses deep in the closet, daring only to wear uniform to focus on her studies. Because the exam does not require a uniform, she wears her favorite dress to the exam. When she walked out of the house, she was in a very good mood and said that she would get a very high score to make the whole family proud. Now that I see him at such an age, my heart aches as if someone is suffocating me. Ira showed me his phone. She even went to the comments of the original post to explain everything. "Why do you dare to make things up about me like that?" Obviously, at that time, he said that he was taking pictures of the contestant spirits. The school security guard allowed me to enter, and my teachers and friends didn't even say anything. And again, this dress was knee-length, very normal, not exposed at all. "Don't talk anymore. You guys are outrageous." The other guy replied, "Going out and dressing up like this? You don't even allow others to talk?" Do you want me to shut up? If you're good, go and sue me. Children who study hard are not like you. Anyway, after finishing college, I can only work as a mage girl and stand on the street. What else am I helping you find potential customers early from now on? Ira accidentally exposed her social media account and received countless messages from strangers, all vulgar words, filled with dirty images. She couldn't erase it all. Even more terrifying was that someone sent her location right next to her school. I advised him not to look at his phone anymore and continue to finish the exam. Ira shook her head repeatedly. No, I don't dare to go out. They are watching me. I'm scared, brother. I know that the best way to deal with cyber violence is to act like you don't see it. The more zealously you are afraid, the more they are like flies, always looking to annoy you. However, Ira was psychologically traumatized. If she endures this, she will always be afraid, will not dare to wear beautiful clothes, and will assume that it is her fault. I stroked her hair and comforted. Don't worry, the scary ones are them. Have you forgotten your job? Those flies will have to shut up. It's not enough to shut up, they will be punished again. I opened my laptop and turned the screen towards Ira. Ira, do you remember this game? As long as you finish this exam, in the next 3 months of summer vacation, will you play with me all the time? Ira looked at the screen in a daze. Her eyes gradually brightened. It recalls the people we used to deal with. She wiped her tears, sniffed her nose, and whispered, Brother, if you do well in the exam, can you play longer? I laughed. Of course. You also have to submit to the other person. I didn't expect someone to dare to play tricks on my sister and challenge me in my strongest field. My profession is the gray area, to put it simply, as a detective, but to put it bluntly, I am the one who catches the cheater. I received a personal entrustment and used all professional measures to collect evidence of adultery, help my client win the lawsuit, and divide more assets. With my experience, I can find a more formal and serious job, but somehow my hobby is this job. Exploring and following is my aptitude as well as my pleasure. Actually, this hobby of mine is also related to Ira. As a child, Ira was often bullied because she couldn't always follow and protect her. So, I hired a server and set up my own website, posted photos of its bullies, and shared their embarrassing and private stories. After that, I posted the web address on the school forum. Since this is my own website and server, no one can block it. Bullies found out that the fact that they peed in their pants and cried when they were young was known to everyone. Their bad image is spread everywhere, and they are ridiculed. At that time, I didn't even know how to use hidden IPs and network proxies, so I was quickly found out. I was beaten by the whole group. My parents immediately took me to check my injuries and asked the school to take appropriate disciplinary measures. In the end, they were expelled from school, and my family was compensated for more than 5,000 medical bills. As for me, because I wasn't old enough and didn't pose a real threat to the bullies, they simply thought it was a kid's joke. I used that money to buy Disneyland tickets for me and Ira and played freely for a year. After that, no matter where the bullies changed schools, I still posted on the forum of the school they were attending until they cried and begged me to forgive them. From there, I understood that this world has a set of operating rules. This rule does not favor the victim or the perpetrator, but only those who know how to take advantage of the data rule. The website I created in the past is still hosted on my computer, which can be used anytime I want. They think that making indiscriminate statements online without anyone knowing about it will not pay a price, but I will expose everything to the light. I finished comforting Ira and took her out for dinner. My parents were still angry. Ira, do you have many friends who are lawyers and prosecutors? When I finish the exam, my family has to sue that guy and force him to apologize to me. Do you think the probability of winning the lawsuit is high? Since I was a child, I had been taught to take advantage of legal weapons to protect myself. But legal weapons for ordinary people are too expensive. The first is the cost of hiring a lawyer. The second is the long and extremely tiring trial time. I advise parents to be calm and thoroughly analyze the current situation. The uncle who posted the photo of Ira did not reveal his face and did not reveal his real name, and there was no direct connection to her real identity. Second, Ira was just a high school student. Her social reputation does not directly affect her income. Even if she sues, the possibility of losing is still higher. I know of a case of a girl who was spread by an acquaintance who spread a fabricated rumor online. They also only named and showed their faces, attracting hundreds of thousands of views. The girl won the lawsuit, but only received $20,000 in compensation for mental losses and a public apology. The effort is not worth it. The perpetrator has to pay too lightly. So we will become the perpetrators. The account ID that posted the photo is Afric. Ira had also seen his face. I collected all of his social media accounts, categorized by keyword. In fact, being monitored, stalked, and harassed rarely happens to men, so they don't feel these threats, so the defense mentality is very poor. His statements online have revealed too much personal information. I can easily exploit his profession, hobbies, family address, and even his daily schedule. Under the surveillance and confirmation of Ira's face, I learned his real name. The comment section is also not to be missed. As the heat of the post was rising, there were some cursing at the voyeur and encouraging Ira. However, vulgar words still dominate the majority. I run a monitoring program to log corrupt comments into the database. As for the marketing accounts that run bluffs just to get views, I don't ignore them. No one can escape. The next day, Ira was escorted by my whole family to the exam. I also took advantage of the preparation for a big war. I called my friend Curtis, who is a freelancer who writes articles for media agencies and runs social media. I got straight to the point. Curtis, have you seen the news about girls wearing college uniforms? Do you want to take advantage of this little heat? Curtis replied, "Look, I have this intention because the news about college exams usually attracts a lot of views. However, that news is not really related to the topic I was looking for. Even though I'm not a good person, I at least have a bit of a minimum work ethic." I immediately interrupted the girl in the article, explaining that it was my sister. I planned to deal with those sneakers. Curtis was a little surprised and then laughed. "Haha, it turns out to be your sister." Unfortunately for him, instead of being guilty of someone else, he chose to be guilty of someone who is idle like you. I frowned, feeling a little uncomfortable. "We also seem to be quite close. Why are you talking like you're teasing me?" Curtis explained, "I just praise you for your ability to make people uncomfortable. You're an expert. Everyone loves unexpected turns. If you have any hot news, please send it to me right away." Curtis and I got to know each other when we exploited the bad news about the stars together. At that time, he was working as a PR for an 18th Line Star studio, and I received a commission to exploit bad news about opponents to harm them. In the past, it was very common to receive sensational exploits, but now that fans are stronger, they don't need to rely on paparazzi anymore. Curtis already understands the rules of traffic and works independently. A news story that becomes hot depends on how the news anchor expresses and directs the audience. To please one group, it will have to irritate the other group. Ira was too naive to tolerate profanity, but for Curtis, as long as there was traffic, who cared if the news was good or bad? Even Curtis felt that the news was not good. The voyeurs are indeed being punished. After I finished preparations, I put on my hoodie and sweatpants, put on a mask and went out. Now it's the snooker's business hours, and I'll follow him. Dermot, 40, unmarried, works as a clerk at the local archives. He took the civil service exam for 5 years and finally got enough passing grades when he was 35 years old. It was the most glorious moment of his life. Based on the name of a state employee, he likes to criticize and comment on others online. He didn't do anything against the law, just thought very vulgarly, liked to smoke, drink, and talk nonsense. I saw him from a distance at the subway station. He was wearing a black coat, his hair was thinning, and at first glance he was just an ordinary middle-aged man. I watched him get on the train, where there was a woman sleeping on the seat. She was only wearing a string shirt, revealing her white neck. I saw him secretly taking pictures with his phone, so I quickly took a picture of him as well. Opening his personal page, I saw that he had posted a new post. AFC, the weather is getting hotter. The women in revealing clothes are starting to again, with a picture of a woman sleeping on the subway. The news about Ira helped him gain a certain number of followers, and the comments began to smell profane. I read some comments like, "If my wife dares to dress like this, I will break her leg." Some others sneered, "Free goods are free if you don't see them." The vulgar words made me so angry that I had to laugh. However, what made me more angry was that they had lowered the image of men, which made me, an ordinary man, also implicated. I used an anonymous account to comment and post photos of him taken secretly. Unexpectedly, my comment quickly climbed to the hot comment section. It seemed that there were also quite a few people waiting to curse him. Ha, ha, ha! There is finally an outsider's perspective. The person who took the sneak shot was caught sneaking again, throwing the boomerang and hitting me again. Dermot, when he saw the hot comment, realized that he was secretly photographed. He was immediately worried and rolled his eyes to look around. When the train arrived at the station, I hurried down first to wait for him. I knew he liked to smoke, so I prepared a pack of cigarettes and walked up to him with a smile. "Brother, we're promoting a new, faster version of Dugene. Please help me download it to make a report." Dermot didn't bother to look at me and hurriedly walked out. I chased after him. "Download the cigarettes to take away. It only takes 30 seconds to help me." He looked at the pack of cigarettes in my hand, a little surprised. "Now, the promotion is still giving away cigarettes?" I smiled heartily. "I mean to spend my own money to buy it. At the end of the year, I need to meet the target. If no one downloads it, I will be fired." He looked at me, feeling that I had a stubborn look. "Looking at it, you know that the big guys work hard. It's good to have a pack of medicine to relax a little." Dermot seemed to like what I was saying, stopped, pulled out his phone, and snorted. "It's only 30 seconds. Don't waste my time." I nodded, bowed my head, and followed him to scan the QR code and then register. Dermot was annoyed, and I quickly helped him with the operation. He looked at me, flattering, and couldn't help but laugh. "I told you, this job has no future. Why don't you go to the civil service exam?" "Oh, it's hard to take the civil service exam," I replied. He laughed. "It's not difficult. I'm a civil servant." I pretended to be surprised. "Oh, really? You're so good. If I can be a civil servant like you, my family will be very smiling." He became excited when he heard these words, and then turned to teach me to try to take the civil service exam, not to do meaningless things. Taking advantage of the time when he was busy teaching me, I quickly granted access to the recording and photography apps on his phone. "It's done. This is your cigarette. Go on the road carefully." After Chen Gaofeng left, another person came to ask me, "Uncle, I also want to participate. Give me a packet of medicine." I didn't bother to look back, because only meeting Chen Chaofeng for 2 minutes made me feel tired. The way he was arrogant, his pointing finger, almost wanted to poke at me. Did he really think that civil servants were the center of the universe? I put on my hoodie, snapped my knuckles, and said to myself, "What's your attitude?" Opening the computer, I connected to the tracking software on Dermot's phone. The photos, audios, and messages on his phone are constantly being sent to the adware, just an excuse. In fact, the tracking software has a similar symbol. Even if he deletes it, it is useless. Unless he reforms the phone, the malware will continue to steal information. I always remind Ira not to download applications from unknown sources, especially not to grant unnecessary access. Anyway, personal information is very important and should not be arbitrarily disclosed. In the past, my targets were usually celebrities or wealthy people. They were very wary. But Dermot easily fell into such a trap, saving me a lot of effort. I checked his messages and found that Dermot's circle of friends was very narrow, mostly relatives and colleagues. Conversations primarily with dates and employees' massage. The subject of the date is not long-lasting, while the longest-maintained object is employee number 18 at the massage parlor. I made an appointment to meet Yetta. While I waited, I looked at the comments. Wearing clothes like that is definitely not a decent girl. I made an appointment with a few people on the forum, and they all said, "This student girl took out a loan to do this, only about 1,000 to play." If you don't believe it, in my inbox, I have recorded a video playing with those girls. Others can act, but not like Dermot. He didn't know he was being watched. I collect all the linked accounts and comments to report to the police. After that, I informed Curtis so that he could follow up on the results of the verification from the police. Yet a very young girl about Ira's age asked me, Was it introduced by an acquaintance? I replied, Dermot is my senior at the office. He introduced me here. Yetta smiled unnaturally. It turns out that you are a civil servant. You look really young. During the massage, Yetta tried to talk and asked me how my relationship with Dermot was. I thought for a while and then said, It's normal, I don't like him, he likes to teach other people, it's very annoying. Yetta chuckled, and I continued to complain a few sentences. Finally, she opened her heart. He's really weird. I have to follow him up so that he can open a customer card. He only bought a 9 V&D coupon and kept bothering me for the past half a year. I asked her how weird it was, and she showed me a chat message. Dermot wrote, This job is not promising. Do you have a college degree? Yetta replied, What if you have a college degree? Dermot replied, I can work as a secretary for you. Yetta was silent, and Dermot continued, My starting point is inherently lower than others, so I have to work harder, to the point of touching myself. I laughed and my stomach ached. Even though I had a chat message, I took one more photo. Before leaving, I said to Yetta, Dermot won't bother you anymore. He won't have time to cause trouble. Yetta said she had wanted to block him for a long time and block him right in front of me. After Ira successfully completes the exam, her parents hold a celebration party. Ira is happy but still worried at times. She hasn't looked at her phone since yesterday. And today, she is still wearing her uniform for the exam, bowing her head and not daring to look at others. I knew she wouldn't be able to recover quickly from the cyber attack. Therefore, we need to act quickly to avoid a spreading effect. The next day, Curtis launched the first attack. Police have verified and arrested the people behind the cyber attack. The crowd quickly gathered when the announcement was broadcast. Dermot posted a photo of his office pretending everything was normal with a caption, My motto is to work so hard that you don't have the strength to fight, to the point of touching yourself. I forwarded the post and commented, Is this an attempt to flirt with young girls? The comments were filled with laughter, and everyone criticized Dermot. I took advantage of the community's attention to post my website address. Yesterday, I rented a server abroad and posted the introduction information and Dermot's daily biopics. The account name is the AFC Network ID. Photos that have been blurred, although recognizable by friends, will not reveal real information. The article is titled A Day Experience of a 40-year-old man without a home and no car. I see a constant increase in visitors. I also create columns for people who have bad comments about Ira. I have gathered all the statements from unpleasant comments to anonymous confessions on the message board, which can be considered a public trial. I don't know what the public thinks of me, but the people who are attacked are all mad. I received tens of thousands of abusive messages on my sub-account. The insults didn't work for me because my sub-account was an account of unknown origin, an overseas website, and a virtual IP. Dermot was even more agitated and sent me a message. What kind of bastard are you? How dare you take a sneak shot of me? You dare to invade my privacy and honor. I'm going to sue you. I comment on the update of AFC's activities. Today, the topic is drunk cars on the side of the road online are attacked, with a link to his schedule. I knew he had called the police, but since I couldn't determine my true identity, the police wouldn't file a report. I broadcast it live for the whole family to watch. Ira asked a little worriedly, What if he sues me? I replied, He must have his real identity information before he can send a lawyer's letter. He can find someone to hack the server, but it will take at least a few months to decrypt it. Ira was worried, but her parents comforted her. 3 days later, Curtis called to ask me to publicly apologize and buy HOTS. I went to Dermot's page and saw that his signature had changed to Protecting the Rights of Victims V182XXXX. His pinned post mentioned my sub-account and called me perverted, unconscionable. I gathered all the information of the victims to prepare for the lawsuit. He threatened to ask me to apologize publicly today, otherwise I would suffer the consequences. Attached is a picture of the Rights Protection Group. Oh well, there are 28 people. I scratched my head, realizing he was talking about himself. Moreover, I did not threaten the safety of his life and property. Actually, I could get his bank password if I wanted, but I absolutely didn't touch his money. I don't like money, but I'm afraid of being involved in the law. According to the law, human beings must be protected in the following order: life, health, personal property, privacy, and honor. I asked Curtis, what do you think? Curtis replied, it's not attractive. Who wants to see it? I was quite happy and continued to watch. Curtis forwarded the post. It's ridiculous. The initiator of the cyber attack is now under cyber attack. I dare to ask for a public apology. Dermot criticized Curtis for being unethical, saying that the attack on the IRA network was justified. As for me, attacking his life is a moral deterioration. Dermot thinks that if there is no one to help Ira, she can only endure the humiliation silently. I was cursed as a pervert, but it didn't matter. I had to let him feel the evils of society. I updated the sneak peek image. Today, Dermot was angry and surfed his phone at work. I know he's in a hurry, but don't surf your phone while you're working. Dermot warned me that I would suffer the consequences. I just want to see what the consequences are. Ira knocked on the door and asked me hesitantly, are you busy? I said no, and she came into the room holding the phone. I see a lot of people scolding you, Ira said. I don't know when she saw the war of words online. I couldn't help but laugh. They scolded me for not catching me. If you report to the police and solve the problem, who wants to be scolded online every day? However, when I looked up, I saw Ira in tears. She said, it's not fair. I just wore that dress to the exam and was secretly photographed and scolded. I had to stand up for you again and was scolded so badly. I've thought about it carefully. I dressed differently than others might have affected other people's exams, so I was scolded, right? If you apologize, everything will pass, right? She continued, I don't want to see them scold me. Seeing such criticism, I'm even more heartbroken when they scold me. I was dumbfounded. Since doing this job, I have heard many difficult words. Anyway, what I did was not clean compared to the damage to the target's property and status. The fact that I was scolded a few sentences was nothing. But my family couldn't accept that others spoke ill of me. It is thanks to my family that I can live so freely. I called Ira closer and said, don't pay attention to what they're trying to brag about. Guess what the number of visitors to your site is? Ira guessed. There must be tens of thousands of people, right? I laughed. It's less than 200 today, and it's all people involved in this story. Only on the day Curtis issued the police notice, the traffic was high, then quickly decreased. Aside from the people involved screaming themselves, who cares about them? Most of them just eat melons and leave. The world doesn't revolve around them. Dermot was indeed preparing to retaliate. The next morning, my website was paralyzed with a 503 error message. Dermot happily boasted on the chat group, my tracker's website has been knocked down. Can he still be arrogant? I checked the error logs and found out that the link was hacked to the point of crashing. I was using a server overseas, so Dermot couldn't report and shut down my website. He wanted me to shut down, but he could only find hackers who used traffic attacks to bring my site down. This method is quite expensive, and in the gray industry there is no transparent price. But Dermot lacked knowledge, and the hacker attack was only a one-off. My site has a lot of redundant IPs, so it's up and running quickly. The user sent a message, brother, I see that his website has reopened. It is no longer down. Dermot reacted, no way. I spent $20,000 to make it collapse. User 2 asked, is there a warranty? The website is down again. In fact, cyber attacks are a common method. Regular companies spend a large amount of money on maintaining network security, but this is a non-profit personal website. If it crashes, I just need to change the IP and reboot and it's done. Dermot is difficult and it takes a lot of money. Friends, don't just pay for me, he urged. One user said, isn't it possible to do it all at once? Why spend so much money? Dermot was sure to succeed, but it was met with the fact that a traffic attack couldn't bring down the site permanently. People have spent too much money, and the more urgent it is, tensions continue to rise. Dermot began to feel defeated and confused when he couldn't get in touch with the hacker. It seems complicated, I said with a whispered smile. In the end, Dermot was deceived. His rights defenders attacked back and put up a sign of money scam. In the end, Dermot could do nothing, and he became a target for everyone. I decided to take a sneak shot of Dermot. The police don't intervene when I'm harassed, but when someone accuses him of fraud, the police naturally have to intervene. Dermot was invited to the police station and had no time to pay attention to me. I filmed and live-streamed the confused and difficult Dermot scene. After this incident, the defenders of his interests also realized that they had sunk into a bottomless hole. I am like a weed, unable to extinguish the spring wind. These people not only lose face, but they also lose money, which is much more serious. In the end, Dermot's companions not only did not unite, but also counterattacked, demanding a lot of compensation from him. My website has now become a family favorite, with every opening accompanied by a joyful atmosphere. Ira especially enjoyed watching this show and saw Dermot's embarrassed face. Now he no longer feels hatred, but only finds it funny. During this time, Ira's test scores have met the standards for entering key schools. Her parents advised her to show off online to refute those who scolded her as fake and uneducated. However, Ira refused. She said, "What's the use of showing off your points online? Those who look down on us can still say it's a fake score or steal the results from others. No one can make people who already hate us love us." She has been aware that social media is a place where real and fake are mixed. It is better to spend a lot of time with relatives and friends in real life. Fortunately, she has escaped from the haunting ghost all this time. After paying all the compensation to the victims, Dermot became sluggish. His personal page has no new information. I persistently followed and secretly photographed him. One night, Dermot texted me privately and admitted his mistake. "Senior, great-grandfather, please forgive me. You've been shooting for 2 months. Do you want to continue? My life has been messed up by you. What do I have to do for you to let me go? I don't feel scared." Dermot offered me to receive the money, but I only sent the payment code and a phone number to transfer the money. After transferring the money, I called that number but did not receive a response. Turning on the spyware, I saw Dermot moving quickly towards the police station. It turned out that he wanted to trap me. Dermot went to the door of the police station and went live. "Haha, pervert watcher, I know you're watching. I just transferred 30,000 to you. A large amount of money constitutes a crime of extortion. I'm going to the police station to make a file. You just wait." When he saw the police, Dermot changed his expression. He opened my website, saying that he had been harassed by a stalker for 2 months. He just lived in anxiety and insecurity, Dermot said. The police listened to him present, but are clearly impatient. Dermot didn't come to report the case for the first time, but this time was different. He clung to honest people and tortured them. The police checked his phone and found a transfer of 3,000. This amount is enough to open an investigation case if I receive this money. When checking the recipient, the police couldn't help but laugh. Dermot saw the recipient being the funeral company. The police asked the funeral company to refund the money mistakenly transferred, but the owner of the company was very upright. He said, "We don't support unwarranted returns for 7 days. Or do I return the excess money and send you wreaths?" I spent some money asking the funeral company to live stream the burning of the dolls. Dermot and his mother get caught up in this joke. I know the network accounts of the entire Dermot family, including his mother. Dermot's mother was very superstitious and angry when she heard about what I had done. During the live stream, I tried to explain that it is just a common way of greeting young people today, and if you look at it in a positive way, maybe his mother will see that her son is showing filial piety in this way. However, Dermot's mother could only continue to scold without being able to react further. Dermot was constantly chasing me, even though I was very careful when I was online. I always act alone to avoid involving others, especially Ira and my parents. One day, when I went to buy a cake that Ira liked, I was suddenly attacked by Dermot. He hit me in the face and continued to kick me in the stomach, then scolded me for being my sister's revenge. He also said that my parents were bad people raising 2 bastard children like me and Ira. Dermot was accompanied by 2 people, probably his relatives. He continued to threaten me, but I was not afraid. On the contrary, I was happy and challenged him. I encouraged him to keep beating me, saying that it didn't matter if I had to go to prison for 30 years. When he mentioned that this could constitute extortion and criminal liability, Dermot began to panic and fled. The two people who accompanied him immediately ran away. I kept asking why they didn't fight anymore and criticized their technique in obtaining my personal information. Dermot then paused, frightened when I mentioned criminal liability. He said he would sue me and publish my ID card photo online. I went home, put the cake down, and went to the hospital to check on the wound. The results were not worrisome, only minor injuries to the oral mucosa and bleeding, but not serious enough to sue for injury. Soon after, Dermot learned of my true information and sent a letter from his lawyer asking me to publicly apologize, compensating him for $50,000 in mental damages, $50,000 in attorneys and legal fees, and $100,000 for the cost of protecting his rights. I smiled faintly and tore up the lawyer's letter, ignoring his requests. I refused to mediate and wanted to continue going to court. Ira has entered college. She is smart and beautiful, quickly integrates with new friends. Sometimes, her friends hear about her college exam day incident, expressing sympathy and indignation. Ira said it was okay. Her brother had already taken revenge on her. When he went to court, Ira brought a new group of friends to the hearing. I sat in the defendant's seat, and Dermot sat in the plaintiff's seat. As the trial began, Dermot's attorney presented my violations, including stalking, surveillance, and invasion of his privacy. The judge asked me about my testimony, and I admitted my actions, but explained that I did it to protect my sister. I provide documentation and details about Dermot secretly photographing and insulting Ira. During the trial, I read these documents aloud to prove Dermot's behavior. I pointed out the malicious comments he had posted online, such as mocking my sister as a mage or other defamatory comments. I also pointed out Dermot's behavior in secretly photographing women on the subway and rude comments about them. During the trial, I continued to present Dermot's insulting and mocking comments about my sister. The auditorium was filled with Dermot's colleagues and leaders, more than half of whom were women. They were contemptuous, whispering to each other, and Dermot, unable to sit still, began to shout, interrupting me. He kept blaming me, but his lawyer couldn't say anything because I had never scolded Dermot or spoken ill of him. I'm simply describing his actual actions. The judge asked me to confirm whether the documents I submitted were correct, and I affirmed that the documents I gave were all public information from the internet, which could not be falsified. Dermot bowed his head in acknowledgement. After I added the injury certificate, the balance was tilted in my favor. Even though I had violated his honor, he had also threatened my health. Jury members scrutinized the material, and the audience in the room whispers. Dermot wiped the sweat from his forehead when the final verdict was handed down. I had to compensate Dermot $5,000 for the mental loss and publicly apologize, but Dermot also had to publicly apologize for insulting my sister. His other claims were rejected because they were unreasonable. I've been harassing him for the past half a year, but the price is too low for what he did. Dermot disagreed with the decision and requested an appeal hearing, but that meant he would have to pay additional attorney's fees. By calculation, he spent at least $80,000 on this lawsuit, an amount that almost wiped out all of his savings. Now he has no money to continue suing and can only go online to curse me. However, the interesting thing is that Ira's classmate recorded a video of the trial, edited the event, and sent it to accounts specializing in eating melons, creating a new wave of attention from netizens. The news of Ira passing the university exam along with the event in the past half year has made netizens laugh harshly, creating a storm online targeting Dermot. He had tasted enough warning blows and completely lost all credibility. After that, he had to close the account and disappear. Dermot won the lawsuit, but lost his job. Although his behavior does not constitute a criminal offense, the company where he works has dismissed him because of his personal moral impact and negative impact on society. He is 40 years old but has no social skills and cannot find work. Big companies don't accept him, and small companies don't want to work either. Dermot continued to fail to find a job for many years and now still relies on his parents. He also cursed me many times online, but no one cared. Meanwhile, Ira graduated from university, went on to study for a master's degree, and received a scholarship. Every exam, she wears beautiful dresses and shines in the crowd. I continue to work as a freelancer because of my passion and income. Every summer and winter vacation, I take my family to travel everywhere, having fun to my heart's content. Eventually, I realized that life is too short and everyone's range of contact is too narrow. It is enough to make the people who love you feel happy and happy. As for those who don't like you, you don't need to pay attention to them anymore.